which is family legacy. So which wonderful lady with all the wisdom that they have in themselves can speak about this first? Whatever comes to mind. Let's go.
Change.
Okay, so what do you mean by that? Fill us in.
What I mean by that is changing the direction or the course of where the family is going. A lot of, well, let me speak for myself. My family, we have certain ongoing issues, generational issues, right? And so at some point, I think it's once you have clarity, once you have revelation of what's happening in the family, then now you need to work at it or do something to stop that cycle. Whether it starts with you and your child in your household, it's important for us to do that, to not continue that generational cycle. For me, again, I'm speaking on my family. I got pregnant 15, and my sisters, they got pregnant very young. I had a daughter at 16.
Okay.
And I gave her all the tools that I had to prevent that from happening to her. My daughter is now 37 years old, and she has never been pregnant. She finished school, she went to college, she has a career, she's doing well for herself. But I think that is something that we need to look into as a family, as a unit, and as individuals to prevent certain things from reoccurring in our lives, in our children's lives, in our families.
Okay. So I'm going to play the devil's advocate. You guys can keep talking, but I'm going to play the devil's advocate on every part of it. So who wants to talk next? I'm going to leave you alone, Aretha, because I've been bothering you all day.
Okay, Edna. Hello.
Hey, Cynthia. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I'll expand a little bit on what she said, because I can, I remember, I believe I shared the story with you. My family, they were pretty close-knit, our family, our household, that is, really close-knit, you know, but I started to realize that my parents never taught us how to deal with conflict. My family's way of dealing with conflict is stop talking. Nothing happens. They just back away. And I never missed it. I really never missed it. I went through life, you know, but it became apparent to me when I saw my two sons. When they argued, they wouldn't talk for months, you know, and I realized it was something that I was never taught, so I didn't teach it to them. And they were now starting to do the same thing. They wouldn't speak for months until something would happen, and they would kind of inch back together. And in a way, they never actually dealt with what caused them to have the conflict in the first place. When I realized what was going on, I called them together and I said, look, I'm so sorry. I never learned it, but I'm realizing it now. This is what happened. I don't want it to continue. Please, let's just, something annoys you, something upsets you. Let's come together. Let's discuss it. Let's find out how we can make it better without separating the family. And it worked. They're closer than they've ever been. When they get into an argument, they call each other together and they tell each other off if they have to. And next day they're back to normal. So I'm so glad that I was able to see that. But it's through a lot of, you know, reading books and stuff. And it was like an awakening moment. I got up and I said, wait a minute, we never learned to do this. And I'm so glad.
That's great. That's really great. Thank you, Cynthia, for bringing that to our attention. And I want to give the ones that I invited, which are Lima, Shirley, and Paula and Kimberly, an opportunity to kind of chime in, because they are legacy builders, and I want them to be able to kind of share. So Lima has her hand up. Ingrid, I will get to you, I promise, because I can't forget the yellow. I will get you, I promise. What do you got, Lima? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to just speak on as far as family legacy, building wealth, like you know, for generations. And which is really important to me. Like I come from a family where of entrepreneurs and business owners, and so it's just so important to me that I think that that should continue on, to for generation to generation.
Right.
A lot of times, families, they don't focus on that, and then they end up from generation to generation hurting financially. So it's like my purpose now is to educate and to help families to build wealth and to
Right.
make sure that it's going from generation to generation. So that's what I wanted to say as far as family legacy.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I know when I was younger, I used to see with my mom, she would work really, really hard and then come home and then the lights would be off. And I'd be like, I don't want to work hard like this and not make any money. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to get out of the cycle. The story that the family tells you, hey, get a state job. You have security the rest of your life. They tell you that, right? And I was like, I got a state job and I was like, this is horrible. So I had to teach myself, and along with teaching myself entrepreneurship, I taught my kids entrepreneurship. And that means knowing what a check is, knowing how it works, knowing what a debit card is, knowing how it works, a credit card, knowing how it works, knowing how credit works. I think we don't educate enough in that. We tell them that you need to have this legacy of wealth or this legacy of not repeating generational traumas and habits, but we don't teach them why it is. We don't dig down and say, hey, this is what's going on. And I want you to take a good picture of of our family in this, what's that panoramic view? That panoramic view, and look at it and then see where it comes from. But a lot of that stuff is underlying pain. Can someone speak on that pain? Because that's where a lot of this comes from.
It's
Is
true.
pain. Yeah. Ingrid, do you want to say something, girl?
I was going to say trauma information is really important. And I think one thing to consider, and maybe this is just thought provoking, but I've worked in trauma informed therapy in the past. And for us to recognize that like trauma is trauma as far as we experience it, but we can never like compare or contrast. We have to recognize that our traumas and what we've gone through is, it's not our identity, but also it's something that we've been through. Like if I stub my toe, but some guy came at me with a knife, maybe my pain in that moment is equal to the pain that you experience. It's how we interpret that really is so essential to understanding how we move through it. So I think in any case, like we can, by understanding that relationship within ourselves of what we've been through, we can actually really move forward and be like, oh, this is actually this is my effing strength. This is what I show up to do and help other people with, right? So that becomes really powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shirley, what do you got to say? I see you. Eyebrows up.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking, and sometimes in family legacy, you can have two extremes in one household. When Lima was discussing about wealth, my father had an 8th grade education. My mother had 2 years of college, but because I'm the youngest of 6, and she went back and got her college degree. So I got a family legacy of education, of completing college, and I'm the second of 6. And then my father had an 8th grade education, who was an entrepreneur. And so when you talk about family legacy, I think that everyone, I can only speak for myself and my family, the legacy skipped some others in terms of wealth building and understanding what it means to have a lot that others don't have. Because our community in Mississippi definitely was separated by the railroad tracks. And then you also had poor Blacks living in the same area as middle-class Blacks. So, for me, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so I know what you mean in terms of building wealth, but also in that my father and my mother did not communicate well with each other, let alone the kids. So what I picked up was more of observing and participating, because after I got out of school, I had to go up to the garage and work, right? So, so I think that the family legacy involves pain, it involves hardship, it involves laughter, it involves a whole host of feelings. But at the end, which is the end result, which I'm still on a journey, right? I'm still on a journey. But at the end, the legacy is still continuing. I have no kids, but I have nieces and nephews. And my nieces and nephews haven't gotten it yet. They haven't gotten it yet. And I worry only because of the fact that they have children.
Yeah.
And they're in a different state than I am now. They're in Mississippi,
Yeah.
I'm here in New York. So where does the legacy continue when you're separated as well, from your family?
Right. I know Ingrid has been holding her hand up for a bit, so if I could just let her have her, speak, because I know she's been, thank you, Shirley. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, I was fine waiting. I'm fine. I was thinking also about what Lena said about the wealth. That was my first thought, because I didn't come from a background or family that taught us about credit and about how to balance your bank book and the importance of building the credit and getting the credit card. I didn't know anything about that. And so because of that, my children never learned, it's a cycle. So thank you for speaking about that. That's so important. What else came to mind for me was preparation for marriage. I see so many people divorcing, and it's like something that bothers me when I see how many people are getting married and they're not prepared. They're not, they don't really know the person they're marrying well enough. They don't have any type of financial background together. The conversation is not there. They don't have a solid relationship. So many young people that I see that, it's about the wedding, it's about the fairy tale wedding, the whole thing, but they haven't done the research. And so you find so much divorces. So that's something that, I would like to change the legacy on in my family and in those around me. Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Kimberly, I see you here.
Hi.
Can you talk on legacy?
Yeah,
Hi.
I raised my hand because as someone who is not only writing my own memoir, but now helping other people to write their memoirs, I've still been diving into my family history. And so to give you an example of the pain in my family, I discovered last week that my grandfather, maternal grandfather, he stole from a neighbor when my oldest aunt was probably a teenager. And one of the things he stole was a statue of Mother Mary, because she made an ask to my grandmother and grandfather for this statue. So it tells you the poverty mindset. And he was also an alcoholic, that he was so desperate to give this wish to his daughter that he stole from a woman who went into the hospital. And the only reason why he didn't go to trial for this crime was because she died while their charges were pending against him.
Wow.
Like that just blows my mind.
Yeah,
and so
that's crazy.
to see that pain and how far back it goes into the lineage, it gives me an understanding, not only the suffering that my family members have endured, but also as a woman, it reminds me of where I come from of the resilience and the strength and the courage, because these women,
Right.
what they endured, because they didn't have the freedoms of what we have today as a woman. They were expected to marry when they were young. They were expected to have children and raise their family. And so, like, it seems almost natural that they didn't understand how to do a checkbook. They didn't understand about wealth. And so it just gives me personally that clarity on why it's so important now to me to give this information to myself and share it with other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Stop it. You know it makes sense. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Now, often I also want to say what Kimberly said is, remember that there's pain in all of this. I mean, we see we're talking outside stuff, and I don't want to talk outside stuff because we can do that. We can be, articulate and all of that somewhere else. But I mean, really, like, talk about like what she said. She's sharing about her relative, that did something wrong. I want to be like sincere like that. And I really want to talk about the pain because we shoulder a lot of pain and we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. We talk about the fluff like we're doing now. We talk about this stuff, the exterior stuff, but we don't talk about the pain. And, being friends means sharing inner stuff. Yeah, we're just knowing each other. We're all parts of the world. I get it. But to be really, what's that word that everybody's throwing around now?
Transparent.
Vulnerable? Transparent. Yeah, there you go. How you doing, Paul? And you could take it away right there.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for jumping in late. Anyway, I believe the question is, what is the legacy that we're leaving behind? I jumped in
Family
late.
legacies.
Okay, the family legacy.
Family legacies.
I think I see a friend on there. Hey, Pat. Family legacy for me, first of all, has been faith. My faith in Jesus Christ has been the center of my life and my decision making. There has been a legacy of family itself. I'm grateful for the example that my parents have lived in front of us. I too have written a memoir, and in my memoir, I share about just the different choices that were made at the age of 16. When I was 16, I made the decision to remain a virgin until I married. What I couldn't know is that journey would be a 33-year journey. So I didn't get married till I was 49, but the Lord was able to keep me that time. But I share in my memoir how other family members, either by choice or by force, had very different situations. I had a family member that was raped. And just the legacy that she left for me was the transforming power of her relationship with Jesus. It caused her to be able to, I think, in many ways, forgive that person. And I'm so grateful that she did not abort the baby. That's not the conversation of this, but that person was my father, and I wouldn't be here if she had made very different choices. The other legacy that they've left for me is just one of financial responsibility. And I cringe when I hear people talking about credit, because I think that's what has gotten so many of our families in trouble. We've taught our young people and our family members to try to be debt free, with the exception of your house, maybe. If you don't have the money to buy it, you really shouldn't be going there, because there's so many people that dig a hole for themselves that just can't get out. So the fiscal responsibility of having an emergency fund, of using debit cards versus credit cards, the importance of living within your means. So many times we talked about the pain. So many times people do because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And the Joneses are just as broke, if not broke, than you are. So it's important that we be true to ourselves, that we live within our means, that we not just throw away our life. I'm grateful that we've been able to purchase a home. My parents purchased a home. My great grandparents and great grandparents purchased homes. So just that legacy of it is possible, the legacy of education. I have a doctorate in education. And so all of these things have been very rich experiences for me. And I think the most important, well, one of the major ones also has been the legacy of a name. My parents have often talked about, do not get in the street and mess up our name. So a name matters. And I'm grateful that in our community, the name is well respected. Very, very well respected. Again, because of the legacy that they left for us. So I'll stop there. Hi, Pat.
Stephanie, you had your hand up.
I like this. I'm loving this conversation. When you brought up, when Nikki brought up, she chose number 28, family legacies. I wrote it down. And when Aretha broke the ice and started the conversation, when you mentioned family legacies, my first thought was, which part, the good part or the bad part?
That's true.
So I wrote down, for wealth, of course we want to have a legacy of wealth, but my prison has been in my family for over 50 years or more. Prison with the men, and my son has never been incarcerated, but all my brothers, a lot of my uncles, the male nephews, and one female cousin I saw. I went to Bayview Correctional Facility years ago to do a workshop with my pastor, former pastor, and we sat in a circle and we kept looking at one another. Me and this woman, I know, Mimi, Stephanie was a cousin. And so, but prison, and then I thought about divorce. In my whole generation the percentage is so high in divorce. When my son got married, my brothers congratulated him. He said, finally somebody got married. Stop all this living together. Somebody get married. So they were happy about getting married. And then I thought about a lot of us women being in wrong relationships for generations. We got to break that cycle. Being the other woman, somebody else's husband, somebody else's wife, and that's a vicious cycle, And then, just all those things that came up with the legacies. But so I was like, oh my goodness. But thank God, there's always hope. We talk to one another. There's a way out. We don't have to feel hopeless, And we thank God that we can always start all over. Start. Today I called my niece. We haven't spoken in a while. Somebody got to break the ice. So we can just start all over, So we got to just start those legacies of wealth, even with and education, Even if you don't want to read, pretend you're reading to your 2-year-old. If she see you looking at a book, she'll go for a book. My pastor used to always tell us, just pick up a book and
that's good.
Whether you read it or not. If your kids see you reading, they'll start reading. So different things, So I'm glad that Aretha brought that up because I was thinking about something more on the positive side. So I'm glad she brought up, that other side, so I can feel comfortable talking about the other side. So many other things we got to break the ice and build those. So.
Yeah, and all of us have unhealthy parts and we have healthy parts, but it's important to acknowledge both sides.
Yeah,
and that's important, to acknowledge that they're there, and it's also good to know that when you do acknowledge them, you're like, hey, I conquered that. You check that off, you celebrate yourself, so it's good. It's good to know those things.
The one thing that I do now, I refuse to be in any wrong relationship.
That's good.
Mile away.
That's good. That's good.
That.
That's good. That's good. Excellent. Thank you. Nikki, you have your hand up.
Yeah, of course. I really just want to, honor you and appreciate you for what you just said now, Stephanie, and like just really, support you and your journey. And I was gonna say, do you guys know anything about money karma or ways that are maybe not necessarily the habits of our family from the past, but like, money actually having energy and like what would you say is your concept of money as a form of energy rather than just as a form of value? Because I know that I'm playing a lot with this lately, this space of like, is money the only thing that really creates value? Like, how can we create value with the energy of money? And also, like, can we recreate the energy of money in our family? Like, it made me think about that when you were saying that, Stephanie, because I was like, there are good things and bad things about just about anything related to money, but it's like, if we have this energy, this money, this energy, like where are we going to put that energy and how are we working on things in our reality in our world, right? So just curious about your guys' concepts of that, or even just like if there's anything you've had to do to sort of restore the karma of the money that you have had from the past.
Well, I can tell you for myself, money was used for as a bargaining tool for my abuser. So I never had a relationship with money. I always thought it was dirty. I used to live in Patchogue, and it was predominantly the Jewish faith. And so I used to go around, and people would pay me 50 cents to turn the lights on, turn the lights off. So they would give me like $1. And so I would literally come home, wash the money, iron it, and put it under my mattress and never use it. And I noticed this always was perpetual in my life. I would always stockpile money, never use it. It wasn't that I was saving it, it's just I didn't know what it was. It wasn't a great value to me. So it had a bad connotation to it for me. So what I had to do was actually talk myself out of that, because it was being used as a tool against me. I had to talk myself out of it and take a step back and really say, I, can use money, and money is energy. And when I figured that out, money came to me in different ways than just a bill, Like money, it's an energy, right? So we kind of trade that off. So what I mean by that is you may not have the physical money, but I've gone to Australia for a month from just meeting someone and being friends with them, and him calling me his mom, and he invites me to Australia with a lot of other friends, and they paid for my round trip. So money can convey itself in what you bring back as far as karma, being good to people, honestly, authentically good to people, and really being I'm transparent. I really am transparent, and I'm very vulnerable in what I do. But authenticity, I had to work on a lot. And when I started to really show who I really was and not pretend, my karma started to change, and then my dharma started working. So for me, the money is not the object anymore, but it's the energy around me that I draw. That's for me. Does anyone else want to answer Nikki's question? I see 2 hands. Oh, Aretha was up first.
This is not answering her question.
Mhm.
It was regarding still talking about the legacy, right? And
Okay.
I feel that we don't, as a family and as women, we do not talk enough. So we need to communicate with one another more, and shame,
Sure.
and also release that feeling of shame When we go through our pain, when we go through our experiences in life, rape, molestation, abuse, whatever it is, we cover that up and we carry a lot of shame. We don't talk about it because of that shame and that guilt, because many of us blame ourselves for the rape and for the molestation. So now you're carrying a guilt. And when you talk with other family members or even friends, or like what we're doing now, you find that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I found out just a few months ago, relatives that they were molested, and
Yeah.
no clue, no idea, because we never talked about these things growing up. Now, as adults, we are transparent with one another. We talk, we bring these things up, we engage in certain conversations, and now finding out in our 30s, 40s, and 50s that this happened to us, and some of us it happened to by the same person. But we were taught, as someone said earlier, to cover these things up, brush them under the rug, don't speak about it because it happened so long ago. But it manifests in so many different ways by not talking, by carrying these things for so many years.
It does.
It manifests in our jobs, in our relationships, in our relationship with our children, marriages, how we choose and who we choose as partners, the jobs we select. It does so much to your security, to your insecurities, to your mental state. So it is healthy for us to speak on these things and not be ashamed or afraid of it, because again, we're not alone. You're not alone. And in talking about it, you understand now why you are the way you are, why you choose, why you make certain decisions that you make. Why am I always in these kind of relationships? Why am I on my second, third, and fourth marriage? Why do I have so many children for so many different men? It's again, it's all about communicating, opening up, talking, releasing, sharing. So that's another huge thing that we have to address and that we have to embrace. That's it.
I like that. Okay. Pull up to tell you that I know Patricia Christian too. We're friends. We have lunch all the time. No, I'm not kidding you. We have lunch a lot. We have breakfast a lot.
Pat and I went to college together. This is crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Yes. We're friends.
Insane.
And she's friends with Shirley as well, because we're in the same town. Yep. So yeah.
Well, God bless you.
Funny.
Sister,
I just wanted to say that.
The world is shrinking.
That's right.
I just want to say, on top of her comment, one of the things that I've been saying lately is Satan is in the secrets. He really plays on. He really plays on those things that we're hiding. That's what he brings up in those midnight moments when we're down, to keep us down. That's what he uses to keep us locked up. What'd you say, Aretha?
That's right.
He wants us to shut up, and he wants us to carry the shame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
I like that one.
Yep.
I know that Lima had a hand up. I like that. Lima, what did you have to say? I know you want to answer Nikki. You are the financial one of the financial wizards.
Well, I just wanted to go back to what even Aretha was saying and Nikki was saying, that like that energy that she's talking about is like the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
Amen.
Very early age, and to destroy our perspectives and how we view life, to stifle us a lot of times. And so that energy that Nikki was talking about is a mindset shift that has to take place within all of us. And a lot of times we don't know how to do it ourselves. So then that's why we have to reach out, for help, to get that, we have to yield, to God, yield, for guidance so that we can have that shift. And once that takes place, then that vibrational energy that she's talking about, the money, like Edna was saying, it's not the physical money, it is energy. That same thing is all of what God is talking about, that really will start manifesting everything you want. And it may not be physical money, but it will be in other ways. And it starts with that mindset shift, and then that bringing attracting and bringing everything based on how your ways of being as an individual.
Absolutely.
So as we heal, as we have that shift in our minds, and we start to actually, bring that out into the world, and, in every area of our lives, our businesses, then we start to build that wealth. It's inside of us, and then it's going to manifest in every other way. So yeah, it is. So yeah, that
It
was
is.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want you to know that shame wants us to shut up and never ask for help. Just what you just said. Shame wants us to shut up and not ask for help. And that's one of our biggest problems, not asking for help. Shirley, what do you have to say?
I'm gonna give you an amen on that last statement, because I'm one of them. Be transparent here, when you were talking about pain, in this family legacy, I was thinking about when I was growing up, and have two sisters. One is dead, but they had a marriage that I saw that was very violent, and but they always went back. They always went back, and I was young, so I mean, I didn't know the imprint that it left on me, though, in terms of my relationship with men.
Good.
So,
That's
I'm
good.
married now, but I ain't planning to get married. I didn't want to get married. I want to have kids, but I didn't want to get married because of what I saw in my sister's relationship. The pain they would go through. They'll come down to the house with a bloody nose. They'll call my father. And then one day, one of the spouses of my sisters came to the house, and my brother and father beat the expression shit out of him. And I saw that.
Yeah.
And my sister had 3 kids.
Right.
So, and really, to be honest with you, it's almost like it's cyclical. It's almost like it's cyclical. And I'm thinking to myself, as we're sitting here, I'm saying, what is it that I missed, or my sister missed, because you came from the same daddy? We were raised in the same environment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm the youngest. She's the oldest.
Yeah.
And still living this life. And her daughters are almost living the same repeated life. And that's painful because of the fact that this is something that I saw over 50, 60 years ago. So when you see that, we talk about wealth, but there are different dynamics that puts a hold on the family that doesn't allow them to receive information, ask for help when they're not in a crisis. And in addition to that, they are going to be one, they're not going to ask for help. You're right, they're not going to ask for help. And she doesn't. And to tag along with that is the money situation. Because as as you all were talking, I was sitting here and said, money was the root mostly of all of that. I thought about myself. I used to be very, very obese when I was young. And I used to get teased. And so that's painful. So I think about it because I think about the feeling that I went through and how we sometimes do the same thing to others. Yeah. And we don't reflect on ourselves. So the painful part was sometimes our own relatives can bring about the pain. Yeah. And that sometimes that can be a legacy. Yeah. Excuse me, y'all.
But no, you never say excuse me for crying. Don't ever say that. Don't
So
do
that's,
that. Don't ever
that's a
say that.
legacy that could be that could happen as well in terms of family.
Mhm.
So money for me played a lot of different roles. It played a role where I used it to buy friends, so people could like me. I used it, to get things that I wanted when I was young. My father and my mother, they did everything for me. It was a 10-year difference between the sister I was next to and when I was born. So I suppose what I'm just sharing is the legacy that is left can take on various roles and it can look totally different. But I do thank God.
Yeah.
I thank God for where I am now. And it's because of those experiences. I may not have understood it then. And I know that when I was 40-some or close to 50, I said I didn't want to get married based on what I saw. But I found someone, I met someone. And so here we go. Somebody said about that mind shift. So a mind shift took place, and these beautiful women, I'm here with you, met Edna, Pat, for those I know.
Yeah.
So those experiences, even though they were negative, they have become they've made a positive impact on me. And I just wanted to share that, in terms of pain and legacy, all of it gets all wound up and everything. But when you come out on the other side of it, it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Everyone go to your chat box and Shirley a hug.
Thank you.
Everybody go to your chat box and send Shirley a hug. I know that Patricia, you have your hand up. Do you still want to say something? And then I'll have Kimberly.
Yeah, this is good. Everything you hit on was like, wow. The money part, and just listen to everybody's stories. Money, legacy, the legacy and money kind of go hand in hand. I think about my grandfather. He had an 8th grade education, and he was handy. He built his own house. He bought houses. He helped his children buy houses. I'm blessed because my father married my mom, daughter of a carpenter, and now I have that home. And a lot of people don't have that. And that whole thing with viewing money, I never saw money as dirty. I just listened to the perspectives of experiences and behind the things. I've always wanted to, I guess, gain money to be able to give it back and to be able to help others, if that makes any sense, like financial sense, because I'm learning that at this late stage of my life. And my father knew a lot, but he passed from MS. So he went to his grave with all that knowledge of real estate and whatnot. And I was like, wow, that piece was like missing. And I said, that's what our community needs so much. I said, because it's the love of money that is the root of evil. But if you're using it for the right thing, it's all good, because we need money and it makes things a lot easier when you have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta find that scripture because the scripture says money answers all things.
Yeah. Kimberly?
So listening to Shirley, which I see you, Shirley, and I send you hugs and love because I so appreciate your vulnerability and transparency, because one of my first memories in my life is being in a hotel room with my dad and his mistress, who like made it so obvious that something was happening. So I was 4 years old and I knew my father had some kind of relationship with this woman, and it felt so wrong. And of course, as a child, I internalized it, that it was my fault. I couldn't make my mom happy. I couldn't fix what was happening between them. Literally, this woman would approach me as if she truly cared about me. Like if she saw me on the street, because I was always like walking around on the street, yeah, when I was like 10, she'd approach me like so caring, like, oh, Kim, are you okay? And whatever. And meanwhile, some part of me knew that I saw her in a hotel room with my dad when I was so little. So talk about shame. I did not realize how this impacted me. And now that I'm in my mid-40s, I can see the relationship of that trust, the mistrust, distrust that I have, not only with men, but with myself, with money, and how I picked up all of that shame even my mom felt, because being so empathic, especially my mom, I didn't realize how all of that impacted me, and how I see now how that goes in with all of my relationships, even with money. And how like truly like just how in depth that was. I wrote a poem that it was almost me being my mom, and she never spoke up to my dad about that affair. And she didn't know how to handle that affair. So I can remember walking home from school, elementary school, ringing the doorbell, and I've got a friend with me. She opens the door and she slapped me across the face. That's how she dealt with the affair.
Wow.
So like really, I never really got how that impacted me on so many different levels of my life.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good, Kimberly. Real good. Aretha, we're going to have the final words here or what?
Regarding money with me, my mom has always taught me, don't take money from a man, because when you do, they only want one thing and one thing only, right? So what that told me at a young age was that not to ever take money from a man. Because if he's giving you money, then he isn't being genuine. He doesn't care for you. He doesn't love you. He wants something else.
That's good.
So it wasn't until my 30s, right? But I felt comfortable. And it wasn't even comfortable. It was because at that time, the person I was dating, he gave me $300 for pocket money. And I was like, I can't take this. I was giving it back to him. And I kept giving it back, pushing it back. And I was like, I felt so uncomfortable. He walked away, he left. And I kept that money for like a month, would not spend it. Finally, I did. Years later, he and I are having a conversation years later, and that came up. He says, Aretha, you know genuinely I cared for you, but let me tell you what you did to me as a man. You rejected me. Because here I am wanting to help you, wanting to do this for you, but yet you rejected me. He says, you need to not do that to anybody else, because that will give them the wrong impression that you're so independent and that you don't need a man help. And that's the wrong message. And I got it in my 40s. That's when I got it, because she put that in my mind for so many years. Like I refused to take money for that reason, because he's just trying to buy me, you know? He don't really care for me. He don't really want me like that. He gonna want something. I ain't giving him nothing because he want this. No, I'm not doing it, right? That was a whole attitude. But this, again, what we're doing, this is healthy and this is healing. And again, that's why it's so important for us to talk as women, to talk to each other and not allow Satan, the enemy, to convince us that we have nothing to say, or for us to carry that guilt, because then you're not healed. Speaking, talking is healing. It brings healing. So that's all I want to say. I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah. I will tell. Paula says men are designed to give. We need to let them. We need to let them. I often say, you know, that being an independent woman is going to get us all stuck in trouble. That can get us in trouble. Being strong and independent can make us miss a whole lot of opportunities. So you got to be very careful. You know, when you're saying, I'm strong, I'm independent, I don't need a man. No, you don't need one. You want one. You want one. You want one, but you don't need him, but you want one. So take that down a little notch, take it down, and it's really important, like Aretha said, like all of you are saying, we don't know what we just made history here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm crying because Shirley crying. I'm excited because Nikki's excited, and I'm feeling pat, and I'm loving on Paula for what she's saying, because all of you guys have something powerful. This connection, and I don't know if you know, there's a new show that's coming out, and these kids all have electricity in their body. They don't know it, and they're doing these powerful things in other parts of the world. Well, the electricity pulls them together, and they come together, and they're in the water, and they connect, and then they bring this light upon the world. And I thought about you guys. What we're doing right now is bringing some light upon the world. We're really healing ourselves, and we're healing each other, and we're putting each other together. That's what it's all about. We're not always going to make it right. Let me tell you, I want to talk about being friends. That's what I want to talk about next time. But I want to talk about that because we got to really learn how to be friends. Because there's, it's not just like, hey, how you doing? And we got to accept each other for who we are, And yeah, that's about it for me. But I really like what everyone's talking about. I don't want to hold anybody up because it's 6:04. But everyone has said great things. I want you to go around the room, tell everyone your name again, what you do, and the business that you're in. Okay? So Aretha, since you're there, go ahead.
Once again, my name is Aretha Taylor. I am the founder, CEO, president of New Beginnings Outreach Program for Women that's located in Brooklyn, New York. I'm also a pastor, and that is one of the reasons why I'm here in Jamaica. I'm currently doing outreach work, and I'm also a life empowerment speaker.
Great, thank you. Lima.
Yes, my name is Lima McLean. I help individuals to, I'm a real estate investor, a real estate consultant. I help people to buy property with like little to no money, out of their pocket. I teach classes, beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes on that. So helping people to build wealth. Also, I am an online event planner. I help business owners, entrepreneurs to go out and get exposure for their businesses, to gain high ticket clients and to gain huge profits and make, a difference, in their lives that way. That's my purpose, is helping everyone to build wealth and to, make a change in their lives from generations to come.
Great. Ingrid, I know I heard a little bit from you, but you can tell us where you're from, your name, where you're from, and if you have a business.
Hi again, my name is Ingrid Campbell. I'm Pastor Ingrid Campbell. I have an outreach ministry. I'm also an author, a speaker, a podcaster, a vlogger, and I'm a massage therapist. Ingrid's in Touch Spa on Instagram.
Great, thank you. Stephanie Reed.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Reed. I'm the founder, and I'm Paula Aretha, CEO and president. I always say just founder, but I'm founder and CEO and president of Shades of Women. God gave me that name because not just African American women, but all us women, we go through so many stressful things in life, and not just African American women. And just this panel here is different women, different shades, different sizes. And we go through the same thing or similar things, but we handle it differently. So God gave me that name, Shades of Women. I'm also an ordained minister, and I'm also a chaplain. And I live in Long Island, New York. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Shirley.
Okay, my name is Shirley Singletary Hudson. I am a business coach. I coach women of color. And what I do is that I help them to find out that they already have what they need on the inside. I'm just here to assist them in pulling it out to reach their goals.
Wonderful. Kimberly.
Hello, I am Kimberly Henry, and I am CEO and founder of Million Dollar
Yes.
Memoirs. And so I help entrepreneurial leaders to write their life story and get it out to the world. And my whole mission is to allow people to have that healing of their past, be a part of their past, and they are not the past. And so then they can have a complete understanding about who they are and where they come from.
Great. Paula.
Hi, my name is Paula Perez, but all of my tags are under Dr. Paula C. Perez. My email address is my website is drpaulacperez.com. I am an author, I'm an educator, I'm a leader, I'm a speaker, I'm a pastor's kid, a pastor's wife. Just a whole lot of ministry type things. And my drive is to just help people live life triumphantly, especially in the area of relationships. I'm a SYMBIS certified facilitator for singles and for married couples. My husband and I do a lot of counseling in that area. So we are just committed to helping people live life the way we were called to live it.
Wonderfully. And we want to introduce Nikki because she is here. So, introduce yourself, Nikki.
Hey, I'm Nikki. Yeah, so how would I explain what I do? I am shifting into different things now, but I used to do counseling. I'm really good with nutrition therapy. I help people get really healthy. But currently I'm actually looking for people who want to basically like host their events, their workshops, any of their beautiful offerings all over the world at places like permaculture projects, beautiful garden spaces, retreat centers. Like if you want to go and, do a public speaking event in like, Spain or something, like I want to help co-facilitate that. So that's kind of what I do. And it's all in the creation state. But also I just love connecting with people, and certainly I think women reclaiming their roots and where they are, and also helping men to reclaim their strength through the process of us reclaiming our strength is like one of the most like powerful things I've come across lately. And I just also want to thank all of you for sharing and opening your heart and just being so open and receiving each other, because in the state of receivership we can really connect closer to God, and I think that's really what we're all about, what we're here for. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And I am your host, Edna White. I am an author, entrepreneur, instructor, motivational speaker, podcaster, and a real life performance coach. I help women, Black women especially, help them create the ideal life by finding their root cause of their trauma so that they can grow. I create the strategy that is real, and I motivate to inspire. And I want to thank you all for being here today and in sharing in this great experience in the company of my sisters.
We miss Pat.
Oh, we miss Pat. Pat,
Yes.
girl. Pat, now why you let me do that? You text me for everything else and you let me forget that.
Because
See?
I just thought,
Got your friend.
You know what? See? You text me you text me for everything else. You let me do that. I didn't even raise your hand.
These were the speakers. You had the speakers giving their thing. That I'm just listening.
You better say something. I apologize. You better say something.
No problem. I'm Patricia Christian, and I started a business called Empowered Success LLC. And my first launch I'm looking at in April on how to help people in 30 days get over the S period, H period, I period, T period. It's an acronym to get out of toxic or unstable, unhealthy relationships. And
Wonderful.
to help them find a way to establish healthy ones.
Amen.
That's wonderful. Like it, like it. Love it a lot. So we will be in touch, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. And I give you back the time that you have for your evening. Thanks so much again. Bye
Thank you
now.
for hosting.
Bye. Thank you for having us.
Bye, everybody. See y'all
God
next
bless
month.
everyone. God bless.
Thank you. Be well.
Bye.